with Angela Duckworth. Angela, we're thrilled to be with you today. Our question today is about chores. It's this one. I think my kids should help out more around the house, especially while we are all at home. Is it a good idea to provide rewards to kids for doing chores? Or how about using chores as punishment?
Let me begin by saying chores are great. I think that kids should have them. And I regret as a mom not having given my two daughters chores, more chores, and then chores earlier in life. So this is a great opportunity to rectify that parenting error of my own. I also think, though, to directly address the question from this parent about reward and punishment, that the answer is yes to reward and no to punishment. Generally, kids learn best when they are praised or rewarded in some way for what they're doing right. And even though, as a parent, it's so tempting to spend our energy correcting them or punishing them when they're not doing the things that they need to do, it's actually the less effective parenting strategy. And I myself fall into the trap of, my younger daughter cleans up the lunch dishes, which is her assigned chore. My older daughter cleans up the dinner dishes, and I don't even think to say anything because like that's what they're supposed to do. But if they miss a shift and like suddenly there are dirty dishes in the sink and like I'm ready to make dinner, that's when I, say something. That's when I say, like, why didn't you clean up the kitchen? Like we're all living in squalor. So yes to chores in general, yes to praising kids for doing their chores, being appreciative, but no to directing a lot of energy to punishment. It's really not a very effective parenting strategy over the long run.
So, what do you do though if the punishment itself is the chore, and if there's a situation where someone is habitually not doing a chore, then you can't praise them for doing it well. They're just never doing it. So
Yeah.
how does one not punish them for that?
Okay, so first, I think many times in my own head as a parent, I'm like, oh, you never do dot dot dot, right? Like and really, that's very uncommon. I mean, it's almost my skewed perception, like my attention is drawn to like they're not doing their chores, but I think what you have to do as a parent is like catch your kid when they're doing something helpful, even if it's one step toward being helpful. So if your kid isn't like cleaning up the whole kitchen like they were supposed to, but they take their cereal bowl one day, then like you catch them doing that and you're like, oh my gosh, thank you. It makes a huge difference when the dishes are cleared, right? So you have to actually be artful and attentive, and in most cases I think you're going to find that your kid is doing some things like on the path to what you really want them to do, and then you have to praise them at every step on that path. So I think that's one thing. And the second thing is I'll say, there's got to be a little bit of crafting. I mean, in the psychology research on work, there's this term called job crafting, where say you're a salesperson or you're an accountant and there are things that you like about your job, things you don't like. Job crafting means like kind of calibrating and getting your job to fit a little more your intrinsic interests. And I think we can do the same thing with chores. In other words, there are certain chores that your kid is just really going to hate, and other ones that they'll hate less, and some that they might even like. It turns out, to my own surprise and also their surprise, that my kids don't mind actually cleaning up the whole kitchen. It's like a total mess, but they don't mind that. But they didn't want to take out the trash, and they didn't even want to cook dinner, which I thought they would like more. But it took us a few days to kind of switch things up. It's like, let's try this. Okay, that didn't sit well. Like, can I switch to that? I think if we experiment a little with our kids to see which chores are the best fit, then we'll find more things to praise.
That's amazing. I'd never honestly thought of that way. I know that every day of my summers as a child, my mom gave us three chores. We had an outside job, an inside job, and then we all had to read for an hour. So one of the chores was something that maybe felt like, I don't know that I want to read for an hour every day, but also was something that fostered really good things in us. And so then the chores had a structure to them, but also a pleasure piece to it.
And I'll end with this. I think the the idea that you just create structure and certainty. Like everybody in the Mon family has to do this. It's ideal, by the way, if parents have the same rule applied to them, like everybody has an inside chore, everyone has an outside chore, we all read for an hour. I think that's the ideal. So we divvied up household chores in our house. We didn't have an outside chore, especially now, but I will say we all have an inside chore. And I actually like your idea. Maybe I'll add to it that we all should be reading for an hour.
Okay, thanks so much for joining us today, everybody. This has been Q&A with Angela Duckworth. To watch all of the episodes and Angela's answers, go to qualtrics.com/Q&A, or to submit a question that we can answer in a subsequent episode. Again, that's qualtrics.com/QANDA. Thanks.